A single wrong turn. One accidental glance. One powerful woman caught in her most vulnerable moment. By sunset, a struggling single father's life would never be the same. But it wasn't because of what he saw, it was because of what he chose to do next. If you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances still matter in this world, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you love, and subscribe to our channel to become part of our family and our community. Graham Whitmore had learned that life could fall apart without warning. 4 years earlier, his wife had passed away after a sudden illness, leaving him alone to raise their 7-year-old daughter, Elodie. Every sunrise began the same way. He packed her lunch, braided her messy blonde hair the best he could, dropped her off at school, and worked every job he could find before racing back to pick her up. He never complained because every sacrifice was worth seeing his little girl smile. One bright Tuesday morning, Graham accepted a temporary maintenance contract at the towering headquarters of Aldridge Global, one of the country's largest technology companies. The building sparkled with polished marble floors, towering glass walls, and executives who hurried through the lobby without noticing the people cleaning behind them. Graham spent the morning repairing air conditioning vents on the executive floor. He was careful, quiet, and respectful. Near lunchtime, he received instructions to inspect a ventilation unit connected to the private executive suite. The maintenance blueprint showed the access panel inside a storage hallway beside the CEO's office. As Graham removed the vent cover, a loose panel unexpectedly shifted. He instinctively looked through the opening to understand what had happened, and froze. Inside the adjoining private dressing room stood the company's legendary CEO, Vivian Hawthorne. She had just stepped behind a privacy screen to change out of her rain-soaked blazer after returning from a charity event. Graham immediately realized what had happened. Without staring another second, he spun around, shut his eyes tightly, apologized through the wall even though she couldn't hear him, replaced the panel, gathered his tools, and hurried away with genuine embarrassment. Minutes later, security alarms sounded. Someone reviewing hallway cameras had noticed Graham leaving the restricted corridor. Before he reached the elevator, security officers surrounded him. Rumors spread through the executive floor within minutes. Employees whispered that a maintenance worker had invaded the CEO's privacy. Vivian arrived with visible anger. Without knowing exactly what had occurred, she assumed the worst. Graham tried explaining that the panel had slipped accidentally and that he looked away immediately. Few believed him. His temporary contract was cancelled on the spot. Walking toward the exit carrying his worn toolbox felt heavier than carrying the weight of his entire life. He wasn't angry. He was heartbroken because losing another job meant wondering how to pay rent and buy school supplies for Elodie. The following afternoon, Graham returned only because he had forgotten a toolbox wrench inside the maintenance office. While waiting for permission to retrieve it, he noticed smoke rising from a delivery truck parked beside the loading dock. Workers nearby panicked. Inside the truck sat several sealed containers marked as sensitive electronic batteries. Without hesitation, Graham rushed forward. Years earlier he had worked as a volunteer firefighter before family responsibilities forced him into other work. He immediately recognized the warning signs of a battery fire. Instead of opening the rear doors, which could have caused an explosion, he grabbed the proper fire suppressant stored nearby, disconnected the truck's electrical system, and directed employees to move away. Within moments the dangerous fire was under control before firefighters even arrived. Unknown to Graham, Vivian had watched everything through the executive window overlooking the loading area. For the first time since the incident, doubt replaced anger. She requested every security recording from the previous day. The footage revealed something no rumor had mentioned. The maintenance panel had clearly slipped by accident. Even more importantly, Graham had instantly turned his face away instead of taking advantage of the situation. He had actually rushed to close the opening without lingering even a second. Vivian watched the footage several times. Embarrassment washed over her. She had publicly judged an innocent man whose first instinct had been respect. The next morning she invited Graham back to headquarters. He nearly refused. His pride had been wounded deeply, but Elodie encouraged him before school. She told him that good people sometimes deserved second chances too. Those simple words convinced him to attend. When Graham entered the executive conference room, every senior manager who had witnessed his dismissal stood waiting. Vivian rose from her chair. For someone famous for her icy confidence, speaking now seemed surprisingly difficult. She admitted she had acted too quickly. She apologized publicly in front of every executive present. She explained that leadership meant accepting responsibility, especially when mistakes hurt innocent people. No one expected the CEO herself to apologize. Least of all Graham. He quietly accepted because bitterness had never helped anyone build a better future. The executives applauded. But the story did not end there. During their conversation, Vivian learned more about Graham's life. She discovered he had once studied mechanical engineering before abandoning college after his wife's illness. He had spent years working multiple jobs simply to keep food on the table. Curious, she asked why he had never returned to engineering. Graham smiled sadly. Dreams could wait. His daughter couldn't. That answer lingered in Vivian's thoughts all day. Later that week she visited a community education center the company sponsored. There she unexpectedly found Graham helping children repair broken bicycles while waiting for Elodie to finish an art class. The children adored him. He never rushed anyone. He patiently explained every bolt and gear until every child believed they could fix things with their own hands. Elodie proudly introduced her father to everyone. Watching them together reminded Vivian of her own childhood before wealth had complicated everything. She realized true success had very little to do with boardrooms. It lived inside ordinary people who quietly chose kindness every single day. Several weeks later, Aldridge Global announced a new apprenticeship program for adults who had paused their careers because of family hardship. The first scholarship recipient surprised everyone. It was Graham. The company covered his remaining engineering education while paying him a full salary as a facilities innovation trainee. Many employees wondered whether the CEO was simply making up for her mistake. Over time they understood something different. Graham earned every opportunity. His practical solutions reduced maintenance costs across multiple company buildings. His experience fixing broken equipment with almost no budget inspired several cost-saving inventions that engineers with expensive degrees had overlooked. Within 2 years he became director of sustainable building operations. Yet nothing changed about the man himself. He still packed Elodie's lunch every morning. He still greeted janitors by name. He still fixed neighborhood bicycles every Saturday. One spring afternoon, Aldridge Global hosted its annual employee family celebration in the company courtyard. Children laughed across the grass while musicians played cheerful melodies beneath clear blue skies. Vivian watched as Elodie proudly introduced her father to new employees who had never known his story. No one saw him as the man who accidentally entered the wrong hallway. They knew him as the leader who treated everyone, from interns to executives, with equal respect. Before the celebration ended, Vivian stood before hundreds of employees. She admitted that the greatest lesson of her career had come from someone she had once misjudged. She reminded everyone that character is revealed not during moments of comfort but during moments of misunderstanding. An honest person remains honest even when no one is watching. A respectful person chooses integrity even when a single careless decision could change everything. The audience rose in a standing ovation, not for the CEO, but for Graham. As he looked across the cheering crowd, he realized that losing one job had opened the door to a life he never imagined possible. That evening, while driving home beneath the warm afternoon sun, Elodie squeezed his hand from the passenger seat and smiled. She said she had always known her father was the strongest man in the world, not because he could fix machines, but because he never let unfairness turn his heart cold. Graham smiled through grateful tears. Sometimes the greatest victories begin with the moments that seem like the greatest disasters. Sometimes respect speaks louder than words. Sometimes forgiveness changes 2 lives instead of 1. Before this story ends, we'd love to hear from you. If you were in Graham's position, would you have accepted the CEO's apology, or would the hurt have been too deep? Leave a meaningful comment below because your thoughts may encourage someone facing a difficult moment today. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Thank you for being part of our family and our community, where every story reminds us that kindness, humility, and second chances can transform lives forever.